you ever heard of Act 221?
Yes, I have.
No, I'm not familiar with that.
No, I sure haven't.
221, not right offhand, no.
No, I have not.
No, I don't know what that's for.
Oh, is this the one where the high-tech guys were given a credit and it's cost the state millions of dollars and hasn't really provided that much of a benefit?
Well, what I believe it's supposed to do is to start up new businesses and ventures that have a high-tech focus and have that centered in Hawaii and have the projects come to Hawaii and thereby bringing some more profits and more business back to Hawaii.
221 is, of course, like most pieces of legislation, quite complicated. But the way it works is fairly simple. Let's imagine we have a company here in Hawaii, Aloha Corporation. This is a company that qualifies under Act 221, and they're looking for money from Hawaii investors. Traditionally, this has been very difficult to do before Act 221 because Hawaii was perceived as a risky place and there wasn't a lot of follow-up capital and so on. So what Act 221 does is it reduces the risk to the Hawaii investors by providing them with tax credits that are applicable against their Hawaii state income tax. In addition, there are incentives that encourage the Hawaii investor to reach out to mainland investors and get them to also put money into Aloha Corporation. And when they do that, the Hawaii investor can get additional tax credits under Act 221. And so it not only creates a source of local capital, but it encourages mainland investors to also invest in local companies. In fact, these mainland investors have been investing about 3 times as much money as the Hawaii investors. And then, of course, Aloha Corporation has a lot of money. It creates jobs for our community and for our kids. They pay various taxes, GET, payroll taxes, and so on. And of course, they contribute to our economic development and diversification. And essentially, that's how Act 221 works.
Yes, it is definitely working. It has provided the investment capital for a lot of small companies that simply would not exist but for the benefits of Act 221.
I think one doesn't recognize that every time a venture capital firm hires one employee, there's a multiplier effect that creates 2 or 3 other jobs. And this is what Hawaii needs to stimulate its economy.
I think the data is completely unequivocal. We've had tremendous success with this program. We've brought in over $1.2 billion since 2002, 75% of which has come from out of state. And we've funded a number of very good companies here, and we're growing the tech community. Over 4,500 jobs have been created.
It's designed to change investor behavior. Investors here in Hawaii have tended historically to put their money into real estate development, and what we've tried to do with Act 221 is get people to change that behavior and invest more in high-tech startups. We've made a great start on that, but there's a long ways to go. I think tourism and real estate development and the military are still the strongest industry groups here, but tech has come a long ways.
Essentially, having 221 help us to establish a first round of professional capital enabled us to attract employees, which were the world's leading technologists in solar energy from around the world.
Without 221 and the money we've been able to raise from both mainland investors, bringing money from outside the state to Hawaii, and from our local investors who might have otherwise only invested in real estate or in the stock market, sending that money out of state, without that investment, Cardax and Hawaii Biotech, from which it spun out, would simply not be here. It's that important to us.
When you look at all of the different sectors that constitute qualified activity, what they all have in common is that they're essentially research and intellectual property-based industries. And the reason for that is because of the isolation of the state of Hawaii, we really will never be competitive in terms of manufacturing and shipping physical goods. But the marginal cost of reproduction of intellectual property assets is virtually zero.
It's all about intellectual property. And what Act 221 does is it funds development of local IP. Now, so what's the big deal about local IP? Well, from the moment you and I get up in the morning and have breakfast, drive our cars to work, use our computers and our PDAs, come home at night and watch our big screen TVs. Maybe we take some medication at night. All of that technology that we've used throughout the day here in Hawaii was developed based on IP from outside Hawaii. And I don't know about you, but I'm tired of that. I think we've got good IP here in Hawaii, and every time we use those high-tech products, we're sending money out of our state somewhere else in the country, somewhere else in the world.
I think the intellectual property creation and the tech sector is just the perfect set of jobs for Hawaii. They're higher paying jobs, they have a future, they create something that we can export to counteract all of the imports. So I think this is the perfect industry for Hawaii.
Certainly the people that invest in the companies are high net worth individuals, and it provides some benefits to them. But what can't be overlooked is that virtually all of the money that is raised by Act 221 is immediately spent in the state of Hawaii. And that provides jobs for middle-class individuals and people at all economic sectors. So I think it would be a totally fallacious statement to say that 221 benefits only the rich.
I think the notion that 221 only benefits the rich is a fundamental misunderstanding of what 221 is. 221 is a device to get wealthy people in Hawaii to invest in Hawaii.
Particularly because of the film industry, 221 companies have created jobs for, yes, PhDs and researchers, as well as truck drivers, carpenters, electricians, and by the way, most film productions, by law I believe, have to use union workers. And the film sector in particular has broadened the benefits for 221, not to mention the catering trucks, the hotels, the airlines, and the tourist sector that benefits from all of the marketing from a lot of the local productions. And what these 221 companies have done has been to give local people those types of experiences to make them more marketable and more employable.
The part that gets overlooked and is very, very frustrating is every time there's a newspaper article, every time there's a government report, we always refer to the investor that's getting the tax credits. My experience, for almost every single tax-advantaged investor, somebody who's getting the tax credits, there is another investor matched with them that doesn't get the tax credits. In fact, they're giving up their tax credits because they can't use them. That's actually the kind of investor I am. I almost never take the tax credits. I don't have a big enough income to warrant using them. And guys like me on the equity side are motivated by a couple of things. One is, it's got to be a good deal. It's got to be a good company with good prospects that's actually going to go somewhere. Otherwise, we don't do it. Second is, the criticism of the tax advantage investors, he doesn't care. He's got his tax credits. He doesn't care what happens to the company. But for every one of those guys, there's a guy like me that cares a lot. So I work to get on boards. I work to be advisors of these companies and their entrepreneurs to make sure that they have every possible chance to succeed.
The analogy I would make would be if the state, which the state does, spends a lot of money to educate kids for 12 or 13 years through high school. And when someone's in their sophomore year or freshman year of high school, somebody comes along and says, hey, we're trying to educate these kids so they can earn money. They're not earning any money yet, so let's kick them out of school and close the school down. I think if you prematurely cripple or repeal Act 221, you're going to lose the potential benefits of everything that's been invested.
What do you think about the economy right now?
Well, in a word, it's in the dumps right now.
I think it's probably just as bad as here as it is everywhere else in the country right now.
It's going down fast. I have a lot of clients who are in small businesses, and most small businesses are in dire trouble.
It's in the gutter right now.
What do you think your students' #1 concern right now is in the economy?
Well, they're trying to make their way. They need food. They need a job so they can pay for their tuition and their food and their rent. I think they're also worried about what they're going to do when they graduate. Is there going to be a job for them? Will the economy have recovered by the time they graduate?